The night I dragged an Apache mother and her child out of a flash flood was the same night my own. Neighbors decided I deserved to die for it. And I'm still asking myself if I was wrong for what I did. I can still hear the thunder cracking over the canyon and the way that woman looked at me, terrified but trusting when I told her to grab my saddle horn and hold on. If you were raised like I was, taught that helping them made you a traitor, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have ridden on and let the storm decide their fate? It all started back in the Arizona territory, when I was just a working cowboy trying to keep my ranch afloat. I'd grown up hearing the same stories everyone did, that the Apache were dangerous, that they'd kill you in your sleep, that you never helped one unless you wanted trouble. My pa drilled that into me from the time I could walk, but he also drilled something else into me, that you never left a woman or a child to die if you could stop it. Those two lessons finally collided the night that storm rolled in. I'd been riding fence late, pushing a stray steer back toward the herd, when the sky turned that sick green color and the wind started howling like it was alive. Rain came down in sheets so thick I could barely see my horse's ears. That's when I heard the scream carried on the wind, thin and desperate. I almost convinced myself it was just the storm. But then I saw movement near the dry wash that cut through my land. The wash wasn't dry anymore. It was a raging river, and right at the edge of it was an Apache woman clutching a small child, both of them soaked and slipping in the mud. I didn't have time to think about politics or hatred or what my neighbors would say. I swung off my horse and shouted for them to come to me. She didn't understand my words, but she understood my hands. The way I reached out, the urgency in my voice. The ground gave way under her feet, and suddenly the water took them both. I don't remember deciding to jump in. I just did. The current slammed into me like a freight train, yanking my legs out from under me. But I managed to grab the child first, then the woman, and somehow I got them back to my horse. I lifted the kid onto the saddle, then the mother, and climbed up behind them as the flood tore past us. By the time I got them to my cabin, the storm was so loud it felt like the world was ending. I wrapped them in blankets, built a fire, and watched the kid's chest until I was sure he was breathing steady. By morning the storm had passed, but the real danger was just beginning. Word travels fast out here, and it didn't take long before riders showed up at my place. Men I'd known my whole life, faces hard, rifles across their saddles. They saw the Apache woman and child, and their expressions turned ugly. They said I was harboring enemies, that I was endangering everyone, that the only right thing to do was turn them over or worse. I stood there with my heart pounding, thinking about my pa and everything he'd taught me, and also about the way the child had clung to me when the water pulled him under. So that was the situation I was in, standing in front of my cabin with armed men demanding I hand over 2 people I'd just saved. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my boots, because I honestly didn't know if I was about to ruin my life. I told them no. My voice shook, but I said it anyway. I said anyone who wanted them would have to go through me. For a long second, nobody moved. Then one of the men spat in the dirt and raised his rifle. That's when the Apache woman stepped forward, shielding her child, and spoke in broken English, thanking me, saying her husband had been killed by the flood upriver. Something in that moment shifted. Maybe it was shame. Maybe it was the reality of what they were doing. One by one, the rifles lowered. They left without another word, but the damage was done. I was marked. Over the next weeks, I lost work, lost friends, and eventually I sold my ranch for pennies and rode south with that mother and child, helping them reach their people. I won't lie and say it was easy or that I never doubted myself. I did, but years later, when I think about that storm, I don't remember the fear or the anger. I remember the feeling of pulling 2 lives back from death and knowing, deep down, that some lines are worth crossing. If you think I did the right thing, like this video, if you think I was a fool, tell me why in the comments. Subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess below. I'll see you all in the next story.